really proud to present our book. And my name is Wolfgang Göbel. I'm one of the authors, and I'm also the president of the Intersection Group.
And I'm Dennis Middeke, and I helped with the design of the book.
So yeah, so what will this show be all about today? I have a few slides. I mean, it's a book presentation, but we also want to have it a bit interactive, and you will have the chance to also ask some questions. So I will display and provide an overview of what the book is all about, and maybe also talk a bit about the creation process together with Dennis. And after that, you will have the chance to vote for your top 3 favorite patterns. So we can discuss about the patterns, and I can say a few words about that. It's too bad that the other authors couldn't make it today. So Bart is ill, and Milan has a project. Annika is always busy, so sorry about that. But I think I hope I can do the job alone. And I have Dennis with me, the art director, who was responsible for all the artwork of the book. Okay, so what is the legal body behind the book? 1 week ago, we launched Intersection Group, and it's a not-for-profit association according to Austrian law. And the book is the first publication done by this association. So it's not the work of a group of 4 people. The intellectual property of the book is part of this not-for-profit association. And we only have the idea to create and spread wisdom on how to create better enterprises. So it's about enterprise design. And this is the first publication we created on behalf of this association. And you can see it as a merger between architectural thinking community. Many of you might have the interest because you're connected to my architectural thinking community, and the enterprise design community that Milan Günther created some years ago. And the cool thing is we already have a vibrant community. So also the book is a community project already. So we have now, I think, 600 members in our Slack channels, 2,000 newsletter subscribers. So the numbers are a bit outdated here. And what's interesting is that it's a diverse community. That's really important for our work. So if you have had the chance to have a look in the patterns that are there, if you downloaded the PDF, if you bought the ebook already, you can see that it's not only about architecture, it's not only about enterprise design. So the whole discipline and our whole body of knowledge with Intersection is about interdisciplinarity, and we believe it can only be done if we have this huge community and if we find ways to bundle the wisdom of these people and create publications like this book. So yeah, so we have this community. I won't talk a lot about this, and we have this book, and has been published last week. And currently, maybe our biggest effort, our biggest challenge is to come up with a toolkit. So we think that the book is only, so if you say only, I think the book is cool, but it's the foundation for other stuff to come. And our next creation will be the Intersection Toolkit in the version 1.0, and we want to publish it end of next year. So we have 1 year of time to co-create with you maybe. So if you're interested, go to intersection.group, and next week you can apply for memberships to be part of this community project. So and this will be a toolkit. And if you're interested, on intersection.group now there is a video and some slides that explains the goal we have with the Intersection Group. And if you ask yourself, who are the people behind the book and also behind other things that we are about to create? So we created the book with 4 authors. So Milan, Annika Kleber from Sweden. She's the mother of the Milky Way. And we have Bart Papagei. He used to be a chief analyst at Gartner for enterprise architecture, 30 years of experience. And he was responsible for the good English of the book. He's a linguist English. So if you find any grammar mistakes, I'm not sure if you can find them, because he's really awesome when it comes to English. Yeah, and then we have Milan, who founded the enterprise design community. And it was quite fun to have a process for half a year discussion with those people in these interdisciplinary fields. And the process, we had some arguments between each other. So if you blend and if you merge the thinking of a designer with that of an architect, where I'm coming from, an engineering, and exciting things can happen. But finally, we managed to come up with a set of 35 patterns we all could agree upon, and we all learned a lot in this journey. Yeah, and then we have the two guys who are responsible for all these awesome illustrations. I mean, if you have had the chance to look at the PDF and already downloaded the ebook, you know that it's really a beautiful book. So I don't know, Dennis, maybe you can say a few words about the process, how we created the illustrations and the cover and so.
Sure. So first of all, you might not be familiar with the pattern structure in general. So we usually start with a context and then give some advice how to find a solution, how to deal with certain situations, and then also describe what that means in detail for you. And since enterprise design patterns are fairly abstract, we struggled a lot in the beginning to find good illustrations that can enrich the patterns that we are describing without just showing the obvious. Like, we could probably display a map or people sitting around a table discussing for almost every pattern, but we needed to find something that put another layer on top that can give you another perspective on what we are describing in the patterns. And that's why Jean-Sébastien, who drew these illustrations, came up with a collaborative process for us. And we had a number of co-creation sessions that he facilitated. So we met over a course of 2 months, I think, for a couple of hours every now and then. And we collected ideas together that we voted on. And we in this process, we decided to not show people at all because of the obvious challenge that we would need to come up with different motives for every pattern and not repeat ourselves too often. So we needed to find metaphors that worked. And for instance, one last anecdote to share is that I think we struggled a lot to find something that could resemble the enterprise itself in our depictions. And we thought about an elephant, of course, because if you have attended any of Wolfgang's webinars, you have probably seen the elephant metaphor that is touched by blind people that have different perspectives based on the biases of the enterprise. So to find something that works in many contexts for us, we chose a boat because for us the enterprise is an endeavor, something that moves forward. So the boat, this journey on a boat was a good metaphor for us to describe the enterprise and what we want to focus on. So in this example, for instance, we are talking about the executive buy-in and how the captain and the navigator of the ship, staying in this boat metaphor, can work together.
Yeah, exactly. And personally, I really love also the ship metaphor, and I think we use it quite often. So if I browse through the pages here, We have it here. So, for example, this pattern here, it's about that enterprise design and enterprise architecture must become the foundation of the change portfolio. So you must be present in project portfolio management. So you have this big ship, that's the enterprise, and you have maybe smaller ships that might be the projects and so on. And there are some others.
And Jean-Sébastien just said hello in the chat, so he's here as well.
He is here.
Hi.
Oh, I can't invite him on the stage. I think technically that's not possible. But please chat. Yeah. So and that there's the boat again. And if you look in a certain pattern, so we can just take this as an example. Each of the 35 patterns has the same structure. So it has a number, of course. That's obvious. And then it has a title. So in that case, the pattern is about that you must depict the shared understanding. So shared understanding is very important for enterprise designers, enterprise architects. So bring everybody into the room and use everybody with his or her pencil or pen or whatever kind of pen and draw the ship together. So that's I think there's a lot already in this illustration. And each of the patterns, after the illustrations, we found a quote. In that case, the quote, resilience is really about collaboration and mutual understanding, because we think that's an important pattern for an enterprise designer, that he must strive and aim to get this common understanding. And collaborative enterprise design can only work with this mutual understanding. So that's what this pattern is all about. And then we have always related patterns. So you can navigate from one pattern to the other one. So you don't need to read the book from the first page to the last page. It might be a good idea just to start with browsing the context, for example. So according to the pattern language template we are using, it always starts with the context. Yeah, in that case, the context is running a collaborative enterprise design process requires a shared understanding of where the enterprise is now and where we want it to go. And this sentence seems understandable and simple, but I can tell you that it was a whole lot of work, and finally we changed the context. So if you write patterns, they seem so simple. So it's just one page of text. That's not much, yeah? But we changed these context statements 10 times for each pattern and discussed, is this really the context? Is this true? And then we had 13 or 15 reviewers or so. Some of them were quite merciless. And we believe after this process of half a year of writing this book, the quality should be quite okay. And it starts with this context statement. So if you read this book, browse through the pages and have a look at the context. And if you think, oh, that's a context I'm in and it's useful for me, then you can go to the next section, and then you have a problem statement. So the first paragraph here is the context, and then you have the problem. Yeah, the problem in that case is the creations of different design disciplines each address specific design challenges, but are not known or understood by everybody else in the enterprise. So what does this mean? Means, and when you've attended one of my other webinars, that means that we are all blind men. So nobody really understands the enterprise, the elephant or the ship as a whole. So the business process people have their process model, the service designers have their customer journeys, and the enterprise architects or the software architects have their microservices architectures or UML and so on. And there's so many notations and bodies of knowledge and so many different understandings that we with enterprise design, we have a clear pattern that it's about making the shared understanding visible by this pattern. So that's the problem. Yeah? So we have a context and we have a problem that people usually don't have a shared understanding. And how can you manage an enterprise without a shared understanding? For us, this is really a problem we want to tackle and we must tackle, and we have this therefore statement. So after the problem, there's the solution statement. In that case, it's therefore. So what shall I do in this situation? Yes, I understand the problem. The problem is nobody has the same picture of the enterprise, but what shall we do against that, right? And with enterprise design, we say you must run a broad elicitation and negotiation process to include the viewpoints of all relevant co-creators. So we think that enterprise design is a collaborative effort and that many people have something to contribute. And this pattern says, yeah, you as an enterprise designer, you are more like a facilitator. So go to them, run a broad elicitation process, bring everybody in the same room, run a design sprint maybe or other workshop format, however, and then take your pen and draw a concise, beautiful map that depicts an aggregated view of the enterprise everybody can understand. And then usually we have also some bullet points that give some more detailed solutions there. And these 4 statements are written in a way that are, I would say, tool agnostic, so that there's no concrete tool in this book. You don't learn how to exactly model that, because that's part of our toolkit. And so we think that the pattern book is the perfect foundation also for the toolkit creation that we're about to start. So that's, if you want, that's the constitution. That's what we all agreed. So the 4 authors and also the large community, it was a community effort, and so many people discussed with us. After half a year of hard discussions, we agreed on this, if you want, principles or constitution of enterprise design. So we all, and we are coming from different disciplines, we all believe that you must have, in that case, a shared understanding, and you must depict it. Yeah, and then you have a consequently statement. So consequently is, what is the consequence? So if you apply this pattern, what does this mean? And why is this a good thing? In that case, you now have a concise picture that shows what the enterprise has agreed on as a shared understanding. Everybody is on board and recognizes how their work connects to the picture. Yeah, and you can imagine, if you change from the situation we have today in enterprises, that nobody understands and knows really the other people's work, and if you have this as a consequence, I think it's quite obvious that people want to apply this pattern. Yeah, so I think that's maybe the introduction for one of the patterns. Let me go back to my presentation here. Yeah, and it has been created by these 6 guys here. So Steve is our training facilitator. He's in the production for the e-learning. So by end of next year, we will come up with a toolkit that shows practical patterns, like the Milky Way maps, if you know it, like capability maps, a way to depict the shared understanding, or other maps. So it's a challenge with the community and also with Steve here, who will come up with automated e-learning. So we will provide not only this pattern book, not only a toolkit that will be downloadable in 1 year from now, there will also be certificated trainings, and Steve will help us with that. Yeah, anything more about the creation process? Yeah, maybe. It started in January or February. So when I had the idea I think I said, okay, we need a design enterprise. We need a design pattern book for enterprise design. This could be our foundations. And quite soon I connected with Bart, and Bart is a linguist. His English is fantastic. I knew that I need him to write the book. He also authored many publications from Gartner and also wrote several books and so on. And the work with these guys was really fruitful, I would say, and I've learned so much from them. So it was a learning journey for all of us, absolutely for all of us, because if you blend the mindset of Jean-Sébastien, he comes from the facilitation and from the illustration world, and Milan with the strategic enterprise design, I'm coming from enterprise architecture, Annika, Milky Way, very seasoned enterprise architects. It's extremely valuable what happened in these discussions, and we probably had, I would say, 40 or 50 meetings, or 2-hour meetings each week. It was a long process. I would say 250 person days of work are in this book.
We also have a question from Susan on that, regarding any aha moments we had during this co-creation process on the patterns. Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit.
We had, for sure we had. Thank you, Susan. We started the patterns, Bart and me, and we came up with these typical patterns you have when you are an enterprise architect. Yeah, and two months before publishing date, Milan came up with patterns from a bunch of enterprise designers. So that's how they called it. Yeah, and then we started this what we call this practice pattern. So let me find them. Yeah, here we go. For example, this one, hypothesis and validation. That's coming from the enterprise designer community. And when you are educated as an engineer and studied computer science and done business architecture, enterprise architecture, and so on, and then somebody comes with, yeah, we need to have hypotheses and validation for everything we do. We had so many discussions. And to be honest, it took me weeks to understand this mindset of the designers, that you need to decide which options to explore and pursue in greater depth. So they are so keen on doing research and so on. So for me, it was also a learning journey to become a bit, to think like an enterprise designer. This was one of the aha moments. And I think we also had some patterns. I need to find them. Yeah. We have one. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, this one, executive buy-in. I'm the guy that brought in, we have 3 patterns that connect with corporate politics, right? For me, enterprise design must be a management discipline, and we must have clear ownership, and we must have strategy, and there is corporate politics. We need to deal with that. That were, I think, some aha moments more from the people that come more from the design space. So this is this background I have from many projects in the digital transformation and big mergers and so on, that it's always politics involved. So that came more from our side. And at the end, it was fascinated that the whole book with 35 patterns seems to be quite seamless, and I believe it has a story inside. And it wouldn't have it. Nobody, a single author of us wouldn't have had the capability to write it alone. So it was really a blend. And in this intersection, the conflicts we had, not really arguments, but the topics we discussed, we learned so much. And so this might also be a role model, if you want, a template, blueprint for how to create all the other creations. It happens. And that was cool aha moment, right? Okay, Dennis, other questions I should answer now, or shall we go into some?
There are a lot of questions, but maybe we can save them for later and look into a few patterns.
Yes, let's do that. Okay, cool. So the idea for the remaining minutes, half an hour or so, is, so this is the overview of the 35 patterns. And as you can see, we have 4 categories. And we started with the impact patterns, and that's also the spiral in this cover Dennis created here. So that's the impact patterns, because we came up with the observation that being a successful enterprise designer means to have an impact on the enterprise. That's where we started, because we have heard so much about people that say, I'm so frustrated. I'm an enterprise architect, but nobody listens to me. Nobody understands my diagrams. We are in a time where time to market is king. The product owners, the project managers, they are doing what they ever want. They don't take care on the enterprise. So companies lack enterprise culture. That's called Embla. One of our core team members says that. Companies lack enterprise, for sure. And what does this mean for the enterprise designer? We must find ways to increase the impact on the enterprise. And that's also the story in the blurb and the marketing statement for the book. With the book, we want to have patterns that help you guys to increase this impact. And if it's like a spiral there, and it starts in the center. So you have a new assignment in a new company, if you want, as you're hired as an enterprise designer. And at the end, in the outskirts, if you want, you have number 10 and 9. 10 means you are connected to the realization teams. Everybody in a Scrum team, in a software development team, or other building disciplines, everybody listens to your enterprise design maps. So that's, I mean, the ultimate impact, that really the people that implement the solutions look at the elephant, look at the bigger picture before they realize their solutions. That's not happening today, not too often. So that's maybe, then you have a lot of impact. And you must be, number 9, for example, you must be in the portfolio management room when the project manager make big decisions. And if when projects are funded and you invest $10 million for project X and $20 million for project Y or so, today, not many companies make these decisions based on a sound enterprise design maps. And you must be there to have an impact, because if you're not there, the impact is quite limited. Yeah, and then number 8, it's important to have clear ownerships. That's driven by Martin Mocker. If you have read this book, Design for Digital, and so on, clear ownership means that you must make your maps as the wireframe or the framework for the accountabilities, for board structures, for decision makings, and so on. Yeah, and then there are other patterns here as well. You need executive buy-in. You need to have built coalitions, and the patterns say how to do that in some bullet points. And you need to come up with a shared enterprise vision and so on. So these are the impact patterns where you say, okay, I'm in a new assignment. I start with number 1. And what's the next? Okay, I have a look at the pre-existing wisdom. Let's see what's in there. Then I build coalition. Then I get executive buy-in and so on, that the spiral goes to the other side. And to support that, maybe, so that's the behavioral patterns, that's the soft skills, because we think that it's not only about skills and practice and research and all this analytical stuff. We know that the soft factors might be even more mission critical. And there we have 7 patterns that deal with how to nurture trust and how to ask questions and how to be tangible and how to connect to people, right? That's maybe at the core of our discipline, and that's in these 7 patterns. Yeah, and then the practice patterns. A lot is coming from the designer communities, hypothesis validations, outside inspiration, wearing their shoes. I mean, that's obvious to see it from the angle of the people we design for and this stuff. Corporate politics and that stuff, that's about practice. And then we have, I think, 8 or so creation patterns that define how our creations must look and feel like. Yeah, they must be beautiful. I fought a long battle to call this pattern beauty, because everything we must create must be beautiful. Beauty makes this connection. Beauty builds bridges. And that's the reason why enterprise architecture never worked, because people create usually ugly diagrams. That's a beauty pattern. And then we have human language. So you must use the terms that are common in your company. Maybe they are not so precise as you want it as a business architect or so. We'll keep the language human. It's an important pattern for us. Capture it in form of stories. Annika is big, and that's her pattern. Learn to tell your stories. Learn to tell the future and envision the future in stories and that. Yeah, and then the final one, 35, is one of mine, management instrument. So that's maybe the opposite from human language. We must make enterprise design a management instrument. And it is a management discipline. We must connect there. Okay, so this is just a bit of an overview. I would ask you for the next 20 minutes or so to vote that we discuss maybe 2 or 3 of your favorite patterns. And to find out your favorite patterns, I have a little poll here, and I would ask you, and I give you 2 minutes of time. Each of you, please select 3, maximum 3 of the patterns, and then we can see what are your favorite, and we will discuss these 3 patterns. So 2 minutes from now.
And after you selected 3 patterns in this list, you have to scroll down to the very end and click send. This is something that I overlooked when I when I used this list the first time, so I'm just mentioning it.
%12, wow. That's a nice animation with the beautiful colors there.
Oh yeah, Jean-Sebastian just found one mistake in that list. 13 and 14 are nurture trust.
Oh yeah, I copy paste mistake. My copy paste.
Can you remember the original name of that pattern?
Okay, let's have a look. 13 is nurtured trust and 14 is powerful questions.
So powerful questions for 14.
Yeah, 14 is powerful questions. So vote for powerful questions. It's one of my favorite, but I don't vote now. Okay, we have only 1/3 of the people already voted. 1 more minute. So please do it. 20 out of 52 have already voted. Shared enterprise vision. That's cool. So we have a leader. I think shared enterprise vision, is it?
If you have a preference, please just click the patterns in the list, the checkboxes, and then click send at the end of the form. Then we have your suggestions in our poll afterwards.
Okay. 50%, that's okay. I give you maybe 30 seconds, then I will stop this poll. Because we have some favorites here, I think. Dennis, you need to help me with the best. What are the? I think it's shared enterprise vision.
Actually, I can't see the results.
I'm the only one that can see it. Okay.
I think so.
I see. Okay, so in that case, we have a clear winner. We have a clear winner with 9 votes, shared enterprise vision. And thanks, Jean-Sebastian, for this awesome illustration, right? So we discussed that's the ship, and it's a ship in the galaxy, and then it's like you see stars that depict the ship here. That's a beautiful one. And the quote here is from Jutta Eckstein. If you haven't read her book, that she's a big name in Germany in the agile organization world.
Do you want to share the?
You can see it. Oh, thanks.
I don't think so.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Now
you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, thanks for that. So now you see this picture and this awesome quote from Jutta. Jutta is a big name in the German community around agile organization, scaling agile, so holacracy and these approaches, if you know them. And we have had so many discussions around how much autonomy is important can we make, and how much management decisions and so on. And this pattern is very much about however you are organized. A shared enterprise vision is mandatory to align self-organized people, and they can be organized in any way that can be designed, but have a shared enterprise vision. So that's what the pattern is all about. And we agreed, all of the 4 authors agreed, that most enterprises we've worked in lack a clear sense of why. Some have a vision statement, not many have an appealing vision statement, or something where really people can align, and that's a sad situation, and we agreed. So probably it's similar in your companies. So the question is, what to do as an enterprise designer. Therefore, yeah, so see it as part of your task to help them to create a vision statement. We even would go so far that a vision statement is one of the creations of enterprise design. So when you create maps or whatever, diagrams, whatever things as an enterprise designer, co-create also a vision statement and help them and facilitate them, yeah, and focus on new ways of creating value for customers. So there are some hints already how to come up with a vision statement, bring people on board and do that, and make the vision concrete enough to serve as guidance. So it's really important to have it as guardrails to maybe to provide direction for the ship. So that's the common vision statement. Yeah, and see yourself as a facilitator, and your enterprise design, it doesn't stop at services or at capabilities. You should always have also a look at the vision statement, and usually there is none. So be there in the boardroom and help the people to come up with a vision statement that is connected to your maybe capabilities or business architecture or other service designs, whatever designs you have. Vision statements must be part of enterprise design. That's maybe the consequence here. So Dennis, are there any questions to this pattern? So people, if you have questions to that, otherwise I would go to the next one. I can't see the chat now.
Someone's typing.
Okay.
No one's typing anymore. So
no
I think
okay, no questions
yet.
yet. Okay, so then I go. The next one is just enough design. It's a practice pattern. Okay, I have the order. Just enough design. I think there were 7 votes for just enough design, and personally, I really enjoyed this illustration. There's a lot of buzz going on when you discuss with people from the Agile community. Yeah, because we want to have people autonomous. We want to empower them and enable them to co-create, to co-implement, to co-design. And every software developer, of course, is also a co-designer, yeah, on the one hand. And on the other hand, it's also quite clear that if you don't have an overall wireframe of the elephant, of the ship, if you don't have an enterprise design, a wireframe, a picture of a shared understanding, then it's quite obvious that all the solution that they won't align in the direction of the vision. So the idea and this pattern is about, please, enterprise designer, help people to design just enough, just in time. Yeah. So maybe this quote here is also cool. Big design upfront is dumb. We've seen that. I've seen many enterprise architects that came up with hundreds of Archimate diagrams top down, and then they passed it to the solution development, and they started from scratch because they can't even. So that the challenge here is how to balance this enterprise-wide, more strategic designs with the very down to earth design. That's what the pattern is all about. So if you are an enterprise designer, dare to have incomplete spaces. So that's this illustration. Yeah. So you design certain capabilities, come up with a capability map, for example, come up with the major step in a customer journey or such thing, but empower the teams to do also just in time design. That's what this pattern is all about. Because you want to inspire the people, right? So if you do too much design upfront, nobody's inspired, and they lean back and say, okay, there's the big enterprise designer, I just do what he or she does. That doesn't work. So, and you need to aim for a balance between centralized design and decentralized creativity. Yeah, so they are autonomous teams. Empower them. Yeah, don't over design. And you must be aware that there is unknown territory. So like in this picture here, yeah, you can maybe you can design some of the guardrails or some of the boundaries. You can do that, but be aware that you always leave enough white space for all the intelligent people in the solution teams that come up and detail the design to a later larger degree. Okay, and then we have, any questions about this pattern?
Don't think so. Some more people were suggesting executive buy-in. So if
yes, that's the next one.
Oh, perfect.
No questions about just enough design. Okay. I mean, that's a case where the picture says it all, right? So what we mean by this picture, and also maybe by this quote by the Beatles, I'm quite proud that I found this quote here. Without any friends, you will never be successful in enterprise design. Yeah, and if we focus as enterprise architects, as business analysts, as process managers, as service designers, if we focus on our designs only and how to design the best services and the best IT application landscape and the best process and so on, it is of absolutely no help if there are some political reasons that constrain your design. So the pattern is very much about that you must always have a sponsor. And if you do enterprise design, I'm with Chris Potts, who says that that the CAO should be head of enterprise architecture / enterprise design. So, and that's also in my experience. I've done maybe 10 or 12 projects in the field of enterprise architecture. 2 of them were really satisfying. 8 of them were really disaster and frustrating. And the difference, it was a simple difference. In the 2 ones where I was quite successful, I had the clear mandate by the highest possible manager. And so that's also in this illustration. As an enterprise designer, you are the one with the compass here. Yeah, but as the manager you have the steering wheels, and we must be humble and we must understand as enterprise designers that the big design decisions are usually made by boards. And so we need those guys. And if you don't have them, you can model, you can run design sprint, you can come up with sketches, design creations of any kind. If the people don't use it for their everyday decisions, that the people in the boardroom, you don't have much impact. And that's why it's number 4 in the impact pattern. So it's really important whenever you have a new assignment as an enterprise designer. So you look for these friends. Yeah. So if you go to this page here, you must be aware that the work you are doing impacts the enterprise deeply. It's a huge change. I mean, I'm coming more from the IT side, IT application portfolio management. If you redesign IT application portfolios, somebody is always threatened. The application owner, maybe it affects their jobs. So there's a lot of fear, yeah, because when we design enterprises, it's not like designing a building or designing a lamp or designing a piece of furniture or something like that. There's always politics and there's always feelings, and somebody always threatens, and that puts amazingly strong constraints on your design. And so the consequence and the therefore statement there is focus on your enterprise design and let the political conflicts be managed by your friend. You can't manage the political conflicts. You usually don't have the mandate and you don't have the power. But if you have this friend and if you are connected to the highest possible manager, amazing things can happen. If you become a trusted advisor of this guy, you must nurture trust. That's also in this therefore statement. Nurture trust to better understand the concerns. You must get in contact with them. There's also the human interest. You need your behavioral pattern skills there. So go to the managers, nurture trust, become a trusted advisor. Show them your creations, show them what you can do as an enterprise designer, and position them as the perfect management instruments. My experience here is if you go to the boardroom and have something that is beautiful and easy to understand and is connected with money maybe, or connected with strategic goals or something like that, it's not so hard to get a new friend, because quite often what I say is the only guy that is really interested in a well-designed enterprise is the CEO. I mean, that's a bit sad, but if you go down the hierarchy at the business units, there's so much interest, personal interests, and all. Most of the director level business unit heads of the business units, they pursue their own interests and they value their own interests over the interests of your enterprise. And so, but we as enterprise designer, our stake is we must come up with a sound enterprise design that aligns all these interests, and we cannot do that without this friend. All right, questions about this pattern?
No one's typing. Do you? No, someone is typing, but maybe we can also after that have a look at some of the more general questions.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so then what I will do, I will head on a bit only to my, so these were the top 3 slides, and then just to complete the presentation here, that's maybe a bit of a break now. We are running these weekly Wednesday webinars every Wednesday. So that's only a bit of an advertisement. If you are interested in other topics, for example, Bart, who is the author of most of the behavioral patterns, will talk about them next Wednesday. So if you're interested, go to Architectural Thinking events page, and then we have a whole hour and you can discuss with Bart only about how to nurture trust and how to connect with people. And he's so wise, and he can teach you much more than I can do. Yeah, and then we have other webinars on architectural thinking, and Milky Way will be presented in December 16, and capability modeling and so on. So this is the way where we want to stay tuned with your audience. And as you can see, the book is only the beginning. Yeah, and you all will also get the slides after the webinar, where you can also have the link. Yeah, so if you're interested to stay in touch, you can go to intersection.group. There is a presentation from the launch event there. You can connect with us on LinkedIn. So we'll publish on regular basis and some articles. The conference, we had them last year, but the next will be in September, I think, in Stockholm. And if you want to discuss further on the book, there's also a LinkedIn group. So if you have any questions, you can go to Enterprise Design Patterns LinkedIn page and discuss with us there. So that's only the let's stay in touch stuff here. Okay, and then we can use the final minutes for some Q&A.
So we had a question from Blake regarding the applicability of the patterns to the public sector and government, etc. What do you think?
Yeah, that's for sure. It's a very special surrounding. So in the public sector, it's a cultural issue, and it's very much enterprise design is very much about culture and how people make decisions. And if nobody's interested in designing a better enterprise or a better authority, financial, I don't know, ministry of something, then it won't work. That's quite simple. So always be sure that when you have a mandate, that it fits with your personal vision. That's the pattern number 1. If your personal vision for your job is not aligned with the company, it's better not to take this assignment. And I'm sure that there are a lot of enterprises where you can't do enterprise design. If nobody wants to have a better enterprise, you can't help them.
And I would like to add that while it is true that you have different scenarios, different situations, I think most of the patterns are written for you personally. It's not a pattern for the enterprise itself. So most of them should be applicable for you no matter what your organization looks like. Also, many of them are applicable for you even if you're not in the role of an enterprise designer.
Yeah, sure. that's true. Other questions? I can't read it. Dennis, you.
Yeah. So we have some more questions. Daniel, for instance, asks if you have any pattern recommendations for daily tasks as a business architect.
I mean, it's hard to come up with a recommendation. Say you need number 3, 7, 9, and 12 because it depends on the context. And context, that was also exciting in our discussions. I have experience in maybe 12 big companies in Austria. Totally different context to Milan's experience, for example. He works more with startups and smaller companies and totally other design challenges. Yeah. So what we learned is that context matters. Context is king. So you must understand your context, and then maybe the next step is to browse through the book and start maybe with the impact patterns in the inner circle and run through them, and then have a look at, is this context suitable in your case? So is it familiar to you? So that's the way I would read the book. You start with pattern number 1, personal enterprise vision. Where are you? What is it what you want to achieve? Does it fit with your enterprise? And if it's not, then maybe leave. Then you have the leave pattern. If it is, then you can go to pattern 2, 3, and 4 and always check if the context fits with your situation.
And then we have some questions about what we are planning to do next from Bülent and from Mael. Bülent asks if we have any plans to write a book about anti-patterns.
That's a interesting idea. Not yet, but we will have it on the list. The problem is we have a lot to publish and not enormous capacity. So what's going next is we will you can apply for memberships at intersection.group beginning next week. So we're searching for advising members. Some we have 30 already, and we want to put them in what we call work streams to discuss this further. And then we have this production team. We're also looking for people that are willing to produce, and we're looking for sponsors. So that's about it. So the next thing is the toolkit production. And we are also planning maybe a publication in Harvard Business Review, Milan and I, and maybe Martin Mocker and Mark Lankers, I'm not sure who will do that. And because we want to make it a management discipline and make it quite prominent and position it in Harvard Business Review, that would be awesome. So there's a lot in the stack to produce. And if you're interested to help us with production, we are looking for writers. But that will be clear on beginning next week when we launch intersection.group website, and you can apply for memberships.
Yes, and then Mael had the suggestion to come up with some examples for each pattern on case studies, how this pattern was applied and what led to success.
Yes, we are waiting for that. Hopefully that comes out of the community. And we had similar things last week at the conference. That was exciting. The book has been published on Friday. The conference also started on Friday, and people already told some case stories and connected it to the pattern. So whoever is interested to publish that stuff, we can use it on the website. So we are a community project, right? So, and you can apply for memberships and you can stay in touch. And if you have a case study and you want to share it with everybody, post it on LinkedIn, for example, or send it to us at hello@intersection.group. So we are curious, yeah. But we are a community project, and we need many co-creators.
So I think that's we covered most of your questions. Of course, many of you wanted to know where you can buy it. It's at enterprisedesignpatterns.com. And I think that's it. Or do you have any more question for us that we could answer in the last 3 minutes?
I don't think so. Susan is typing. Susan, I can see you typing. Hello, Susan. Okay, that's only thank you statements. Okay, so with that, thank you very much for your attention. And you all will receive the slides also with the link, and we hope to have many of you connect with us and apply for a membership. That will be possible, and then we will come up with a more structured communication, with connecting the advising members, with forming this community, and with producing the toolkit. That's the next step. Yeah, so please stay tuned, or maybe we see you next Wednesday when Bart will talk about the behavioral patterns only. Thank you very much. And yeah, you can listen now for some more Pink Floyd music on the go. And we hope to see you soon in one of our next webinars. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.